Learning about logic models or theory of change, I think it's extremely useful and important. Thank you very much, Dr. Morgan. It's the first time I deal with this kind of knowledge. Um, and it's very useful because, in fact, this kind of model can be applied to any uh, problematic situation. So anytime we would like uh, to involve a change and alter a situation or a fact of life that bothers us, we can easily apply this logic model. A logic model, it's in fact a blueprint for change, and it's like a picture of how initiatives will unfold in order to provide change and improve a problematic situation. And having a logic model keeps everyone moving in the same direction, which is extremely important when you deal with a group or a larger community, which provides a common language and a common point of reference. The change that I would have liked to install, as I was an intern at the winter shelter for families in North in Kingston, an agency that it's a part of WORM. One of the residents, her kids were very young. One was 1 year old, the other one was 2 years old. And myself, being a mom, I was always interested about the effects that screen time and too much television can have on my my kids' behavior and their emotional being and the way they acted socially. So in my family, even nowadays, screen time is restricted and limited. Something that obviously can be very frustrating because we are social beings looking for seeking for pleasure. So uh, where we find and our dopamine and how dopamine is provided, I think it's extremely important. So I'm trying to uh, limit as much as possible all these damaging sources for my kids, and try to avoid to get them hooked and addicted to uh, damaging sources. So seeing these very young kids at the agency was kind of disturbing to me, and I wish I could do something to change that and to reduce screen time for young kids in the community room at the Warm Family Winter Shelter. Any logical model has inputs, outputs, and outcomes. The outcomes can be short term, and those involve a change in learning. Then we have the medium term, uh, which involve changes in action, and all these changes in once the learning is changed, and that can be easily translated in action and the way kids will behave. We are looking forward uh, for the long-term outcomes that have a bigger impact on kids, um, outcomes that can be determined at a larger social level. when it comes to the inputs, the investment wouldn't have been uh, too expensive there, because the agency has access to tons of materials, because almost all of them are donated, so it's a large variety of materials there, like books, board games, paint and paint brushes, coloring pencils, coloring books, building blocks, paper in different colors, constructing papers, toys, baby walkers, scissors, stickers, musical instruments, playing rugs for young kids. So they already have access to all these materials. So, but unfortunately, very often they're not used, because some of the parents just prefer to leave their kids in front of a tablet. And it was interesting how uh, a very young girl, she even had like a very personalized tablet, meaning that it was in a certain color and with certain decorative elements, like different cartoon characters like that are more appropriate for girls. And the boy, who was 2 years old, he would have a blue tablet, and again adorned with all these elements that suit a boy. Um, so when it comes to inputs, we'll need all these materials that, just as I said, the shelter has access to them easily. And then um, we would need the participation of the residents and their kids, as well as the staff as well. The outputs we can talk about two different categories: the activities that are needed to be done uh, to see the changes, and then the participants. The participants would be again the residents and their children, and the staff, I suppose the interns as well, and whoever spends more time in the community room. But mostly the residents and their children and the personnel will be the participants. When it comes to the activities, um, I think a first step would be displaying like a sign, reminding everybody that that is a community room, uh, meaning an area where people interact. Um, I think it will be very useful to have some pamphlets or and studies and brochures and books about the effects of pre-launch screen time on children, a way to educate and train parents about these effects, and even older kids, because there are adolescents as well there, and why not uh, educate them as well, so they would uh, give proper help and education to their younger siblings. Um, so I think educating parents will be extremely important, and showing some relevant and reliable studies about the damages and the consequences of this extremely popular phenomenon that we have nowadays, where some parents unfortunately prefer to leave their kids unsupervised, unlimitedly on screens. And as I like to say, and I've always said, all these devices and phones and iPads, all these devices were meant to be toys for adults, but unfortunately, the adults created all this reality that we deal with nowadays. Other activities that the kids and the parents could do will be just like old school activities that we used to do when we were kids and we didn't have TVs. At least where I come from, the first time I saw a color TV was in 1990, and we only, in a communist Romania, we only had access for 2 hours, and the program was so wasn't appealing at all. So you had it was nothing pleasant about watching TV. So other activities will be reading books, playing games and board games, even eating together. That's a very constructive activity. Um, um, Painting, even fold laundries. That's a very useful activity. If, for example, I was thinking if any of the residents has certain talents, like, I don't know, speaking a different language, they could share that with other residents and their kids, and train them, to into a new activity, and improve their knowledge and their education. I guess they could build houses. They could build different shapes with the building blocks. Uh, they could have car races, since there are tons of cars there in different sizes. Um, Another activity, something that kids should be learned, and their parents should be a role model in that extent, it will be not watching screens while they eat. Um, Something else that they would do, um, talking about these studies that they were made about this issue. I guess we can add some books where they state about the positive consequences of playing, and how it supports emotionally, psychologically, physically, and socially. It supports the development of children. And just as I said, any kind of positive interaction in between kids. When it comes to outcomes, because that's the main purpose of a logic model. The short-term outcomes would be, first of all, to make the parents aware of the negative effects of long exposure to screen. It will be to motivate parents to raise healthy, connected kids. So these are the learning changes that I was talking about, changing in learning. Another effect, short-term effect, it will be reconnecting with each other, which is huge. Another outcome that we'll see, like short-term outcome, it will be that kids wouldn't be bored anymore and they would participate actively. It was very interesting and disturbing on the other hand how the 1 year old girl, a 1 year old, she was so smart that she would push the screen, like she would push the tablet for a few times. She pushed it and her mom would be upset that her daughter might almost destroy that device. And when all that wanted, that young kid was to move around, and even in the baby walker she was happy to do that. And I played with her at some point, giving her all these rattling toys that she was so happy to move them around and maneuver them. And you could see the you see and hear her giggle, like it was a pleasant activity for her, and she would get frustrated being in that stroller, strapped and forced forced to watch that screen that at some point she would push with her small feet. Another short-term outcome will be that kids will learn to develop a happy daily routine. They would learn that there is a pleasure in interacting with other human beings, or yes, regardless their age. Something else that they would learn, it will be that they would handle different objects, and they will learn how to use toys, which it's extremely important. Another effect will be that they would socialize with the rest of the residents, not just the kids. So what else? If they would eat together, they would create some routines that these are long-term routines, because obviously we have to eat for the rest of our lives. And when they are involved in this routine, they would learn to clean as well, the playing area and the eating space when they eat together. Something that some of the kids aren't doing even when they are the more advanced age. Something else that they would learn to do is mirror their energy. Once you interact with someone else, in order to create a balance, you have to mirror your energy and be compatible with the other person. So I think that's extremely important. What another outcome, very important outcome, is learning learning how to play games and understanding that games have rules that they have to learn, and they have to comply to these rules. They also would learn to be respectful, as generally speaking, when it comes to freedom, your freedom ends where the other person's freedom starts. So I think that's learning to build and create boundaries, which is extremely important. These are the will be the short-term results that, as I said, involve more change in learning. When it comes to midterm, medium term outcomes, those are, you can already see some changes in action, because once the learning is changing, they already start to develop these values, these norms that they will apply in their actions. And the outcomes would be that they would connect with the other residents and they would socialize, and they would become more friendly and interact with people at a larger scale. Like some of these kids, they are going to daycare, some of them uh, go to school. So if the earlier they learn that socializing, it's a safe place, and connecting with other human beings is safe and it's healthy, they will adapt better and they will socialize easier in school and they would learn faster. Another medium term outcome, it will be that they will learn to, that playing with others, they will learn to share. So learning generosity, it's extremely important, and not being selfish. That's it's a huge quality for a human being. Another result, medium-term result, that when they learn new games, they will expand their abilities, like generally speaking. Even I remember when my son went to daycare when he was 3, and the teachers were shocked that my son was using normal scissors, like without cutting his fingers. It was because I allowed him to be responsible early in life, which is was great. We never had any accidents. I don't know if he's smart or it runs in the family, or I was just lucky. I have no idea. He never had any kinds of accidents. So I think it's we gotta explore this with our children as soon as we can, obviously in a very responsible way. And we gotta learn them to be self-efficient and self-sufficient and resilient as well. This creates resilience. So they would expand their abilities. As I said earlier, another effect will be the fact that they will adapt easier to new social contexts and to new people once they are introduced to new people. Because they exercise working with their hands, as a result, the children will develop a more precise dexterity. Like it was, if I could compare at some point different kids with different parents. We had one of the residents, a mom with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. The 2-year-old, he was eating by himself. He would do a mess at some point, but that's irrelevant. But that kid, the 2-year-old, he would eat by himself, something that the other one, who had a younger sibling, something he wouldn't do. He would be fed, with by his mom. So I think these are the medium term outcomes which are extremely important, because you can only already translate them through action. And the the other category of outcomes, the long term ones, which is a more persistent change, and it's very needed. um, I guess it's what we are hoping for and looking forward for. It'll be that through playing and interacting positively, the kids will learn that the world is a safe and a predictable place, which is extremely important, because I guess that's how we function as a society, as a in harmony. Even when we drive, we can be constantly anxious or concerned that other drivers will do something extremely crazy, because we know that there are rules that everyone needs to comply to. So the world has to be a predictable place. And this is what these kids learn. Um, on the other hand, they learn as well how to behave in larger social contexts. Uh, so they will adapt better in school. They would easily connect with other kids in the park, kids that are complete strangers. Um, as well, they would develop self-efficiency and self-sufficiency and sufficiency, because we can see, like, all the time, kids who play by themselves. So they they are so balanced, and they are in create their own world, and they are being creative and discover all these new worlds, and they do that through playing with others or by themselves, compared to being a static, hypnotized human being who just watches a screen and receives information freely and involuntarily, like, and unwittingly. Another long-term effect, it's that kids will learn how to use their time and use their energy wisely as well. Something that it's extremely important long-term wise. Children who interact socially adapt faster in school and have greater learning capacities. We do know that we are learning constantly through our lives, like we always learn, like we are bombarded by all this information, and that's what keeps us young. That's what uh, maintains the brain's plasticity, and it's very important if we are exposed to positive sources of information and useful sources of information. And if we are allowed to be creative and develop our critical thinking instead of just ingurgitating all this free information. Another outcome will be that the kids will be predictable, socially fit, they will be happier, and more generous, as I said earlier, more creative and self-sufficient, because by now they explored all these different worlds and they have so many abilities by now. Like they would know how to eat, they would know how to clean their place, they would know how to uh, put their chair back once they're done eating, so the kids who play around won't hurt themselves. Uh, this is a form of generosity. This is huge for a kid to learn like something like this. Like I've seen adults who don't do that because nobody taught them. Like nobody nobody gave them that attention, and love is attention. Um, Another huge outcome, it will be that all these kids will be healthier, uh, because uh, they would move a lot, so their physical development will be at the great state, and they would be healthier because they would learn to appreciate nutritious food, because the parents were there attentive and shared this information. And we know that kids are just like sponges, they just absorb information, so it's extremely important to give them and let them digest healthy and constructive information. Thank you so much.